Welcome to the Smyrna First Youth Ministry podcast, where our entire goal is to send students on their journey in a manner worthy of God. Over the last couple of weeks, I've had an incredible time. This is episode 4. I've had a really awesome time talking with some fun people. Talked with Emily Powell, a therapist, about everything that's going on and how to keep mentally sane and different resources that we can have with that. Talked with Alan Nicely, the incredible Alan Nicely, the director of missions here at Smyrna First. He talked about just all the amazing things that God is doing through missions and for us to really invest into our community. And of course, last week I talked with Stephanie Malhotra, who was on the board of Chrysalis, about that incredible retreat and what students are able to do there. Today you just have me. That's all it's going to be. Is I've been rummaging my thoughts. I think all of us have had a lot of things ruminating. I've had a lot of just thoughts and a lot of ideas just kind of ruminating in my brain, marinating in my soul. And I wanted to get a few of them out there for us to know about. A couple of housekeeping things, because hopefully I have your attention. Is that we're doing a lot of stuff at Smyrna First Youth. I hope that it is a benefit to your life to do any or none of it. One of the things that, everybody wants people to show up to their events. Everyone wants to be able to add value to life when it comes to churches. And there's been a few times that people have been like, oh, hey, sorry, I couldn't make it on that Zoom call because I was doing this or I was doing that. And right about now, that's awesome. I am not worried at all if people are meeting with their neighbors. The other day, I put a fire pit out in my front lawn, and we're allowing neighbors to just come, and if they want to, they can roast a marshmallow. We just put all the stuff out there. We stay on the porch and say hi, and they can come and get a little s'more if they'd like. And so tonight, I'm probably going to do it. If this weather keeps up, I'm probably going to get some s'mores on. So there's a lot going on. There's a high school Zoom call on Tuesdays. There's small groups on Wednesdays. There's a middle school Zoom call on Fridays. There's a Netflix party on Friday night. Every Monday and Thursday, we do a Instagram live devotion, which I think is really great. Sundays, we're going to start doing Bible study, probably through Zoom as well. So all those housekeeping things. For context's sake, I want to make sure that when you listen to this, and maybe you listen to this, hopefully this is around for a while. This podcast is around for a while. Maybe you're going to listen to it in 6 months, a year, whatever it is. For context's sake, today is April 30th, 2020. And I want to say that because in a year or two, maybe you will forget a little bit about what COVID-19 was like. And so for context's sake, this is April 30th, and we are in the midst of a very long quarantine shelter in place in Georgia and around the country, around the world really, is that people have been sheltering in place. People have been trying to hunker down and really figure out what this virus is all about. And there's been a lot of exciting things coming out. But let's dive in. Actually, I have paper and a pen that I've been making notes with. I know a lot of people don't do that anymore, but paper and pen. Got some notes for today because there are a lot of things happening in our life, and I think there's a lot of things that we can talk about and should talk about and have been able to experience lately that have completely thrown our life for a loop. I want us to be able to talk about those things because what I'm feeling in my soul is a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of I need to take a breath. And if that's you, I want to invite you. Take a breath. My hope is that a lot of parents see this. Parents, we are for you. I've seen so many things on social media about being bored, and I've seen so many things on social media about people and talked with others about how they are coming up with new hobbies, or they are doing new things, and how exciting these things are, or that they've had to be creative. And I feel that too. This situation has forced us all to come up with being creative. This situation has forced all of us to come up with brand new ways of living life, and I love that. A lot of times we don't do that on our own. We don't innovate really unless there's a reason to innovate most of the time. And for me, this innovation has come through the videos that I've recorded for Wednesday worship. It's come through different ways of engaging students and parents. And that type of innovation, maybe it would have happened, maybe it wouldn't, but this has forced us all to do it in a pressure cooker and to do it quickly, which I kind of think is a good thing sometimes, to be creative like that. And one of the questions that I keep asking, and this is the main question that I want us to wrestle with today, is what's not going to change? What's going on right now? What are you feeling in your soul? What are the habits and the rituals and the life that you're living right now? What's not going to change? I keep asking that question to people, and I have some hopes. I have some hopes with this. You know, there's the obvious. I hope the hygiene continues. I hope the washing hands continue. I hope the being mindful continues. But I also hope that this neighborliness that we've experienced continues. So many more people are walking outside. So many more people are getting to know their neighbors. Like, there is a revival of neighborhood best friendships. There's a revival of family Sabbath and dinners. I hope those things don't change. I hope those things remain the same. I hope that we can do that. One of my prayers lately has been that the shifting in priorities that I'm experiencing would be godly priorities. I hope that all of us have had that kind of prayer before, that we would want God to set our priorities, that we would want God to really drive us forward in what we're doing, and what do we want them to do. When I was in college, I played baseball in the small Division II school in New Jersey, and when I was in college, my head baseball coach would always tell us, you have three priorities. You have three priorities: family, school, then baseball. Now, we can get into the fact that he didn't actually live that out. He would basically make us do baseball, and would be like, what do you mean you have class? You need to be at practice. All right, you get all those things. But those were the set of priorities that he instilled within us, or at least that he preached to us. And I think God is resetting our priorities, because for a lot of folks, it was busyness. For a lot of folks, it was going from one thing to the next. And that's where, and what we produced and what we created, that's where we found our worth. And I understand that, because for a few weeks now, for a lot of people, they've been saying that they're bored, or that that they're focusing on themselves, and I love that. I rejoice for that. That's not been my take. I know for a lot of, if you have toddlers, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. If you have toddlers, that's probably not your life right now. I feel for you. Like, we're solidarity, people, solidarity. Because that's not my life right now. I feel like I've been running. Right before the shutdown, right before everything kind of happened, right before that moment, there was, my father-in-law had surgery, and it was open heart surgery. It was tough. It was a lot in a week. And we are blessed. I know not everybody has experienced this right now, where they get to be with their families during emergency surgeries, during crises in the hospital. You're not able to be there. We were blessed and thankful that we were able to be there for him. and my in-laws. And so, but that week was exhausting. It was exhausting. Going from work to the hospital to home, taking care of the kids, it was exhausting. And then the shutdown hit, and I feel like I've been running ever since. Like, from one thing to the next. If I'm not taking care of my kids, then and part of it's my own fault. Like, I'm the one who's kind of setting a schedule, so to speak, but I desperately want people to know that they're not alone. I desperately want that. That I can, somehow God has called me to add value in life to you, and so I want to be able to do that. So that's why we offer Zoom calls, that's why we do Netflix parties, that's why we do all these things. But I also hope that my priorities are shifting, and I think yours are too. I think people are realizing what's going on. When we think about essential workers, when a lot of the stay-at-home, shelter-in-place orders have come down, we've thought about who is essential. Because those essential people need to still go to work. They can't shelter in place because they're essential. So we think about doctors, we think about nurses, we think about the people who are helping. The ones whose work isn't for themselves. Right? Those are the essentials. And so our priorities have been put into this pressure cooker where maybe it used to be my priority was sports. My priority was school. My priorities were this team, this band, this whatever that can't happen anymore. And now your priorities have shifted. Now your priorities are different. Because your priorities are taking care of your kids. Your priorities are making sure that you have work. Because so many millions of people have filed for unemployment. So many millions of people don't have work right now. So you're fighting. You're fighting to work. Maybe that's how you're feeling right now. And that's okay. That's okay. Because I hope that this social distance that we're experiencing, yes, we're not disconnected. Now a lot of you guys might be over Zoom calls. I'm kind of over Zoom calls, video chats. They're exhausting. Studies have come out and actually said that a physical in-person meeting, you thought that those were exhausting. No, it's video meetings. They are exhausting, but they're also, I get it, they're necessary, and they're a good thing. They're better than not having them. They're better than feeling disconnected. And maybe you are feeling lonely. Maybe you're feeling despair. Okay. That's okay. Because here's really what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that the shift in priorities will live itself out after all this. That's the question that I'm wrestling with. What is not going to change? What can I lean into now in order to make sure that we're ahead of the curve when it comes to those things, especially in student ministry? And so what are we doing? I'm leaning into parents. And I hope that I can equip you and love you and whatever you need. Because families are still, have always been, whether we realize it or not, families have always been the number one spiritual influence in a student's life. As much as I would love to say it's my preaching, it's not. Families have always been, and I think part of what's going on is there's a weight there. There's a weight thinking that my two daughters, it is on me It is on me to introduce them to Jesus. It is on me to help them to understand the love that God has for them. It is on me to help them realize just how much God loves them. There's a weight there. And this season of, oh my God, please God, let it be a season of not only being a spiritual educator of teenagers, but also a spiritual educator of toddlers, and also an educator of toddlers, because preschool isn't happening right now. It's tough. It's hard. But I pray that this priority that I'm now giving more thought to, I'm now giving more credence to, I'm now giving more creativity to, I'm now giving more energy to the spiritual education of my children. And maybe many of you are too. Because a lot of us, we want, there are so many things that we want for our kids. There are so many things I know you want for your kids. You want what's best for them. There are two things that I've always known about parents. And this is before I even became one. One, you want to be an incredible mom or dad. You want to be. Like nobody, no, even the deadbeat dads, even the one, or even the horrible parents, the ones that are distant, none of them want that. Nobody wants to be talked about as a neglectful parent. Nobody wants to be thought of as the parent that just doesn't care. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants to be a great mom. Everybody wants to be a great dad. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, and there's plenty of reasons for that. But what I know about parents is that all of us want to be great. We all want to be great. And most of the time we don't think we are. Most of the time we feel like we're guessing. There are plenty of times when it's 9 o'clock at night, my daughter should have been asleep an hour and a half ago, and they've been screaming for 20 minutes. There are plenty of times the only motivation for me not to scream back at her is that I don't want to look at myself in the mirror saying I screamed at my child. I know it's fine. I know what happens. But that's the only motivation I have sometimes. And through all this, I hope parents have given each other slack. I hope we've been able to give each other grace and give ourselves grace. Give you grace. Give yourself some grace. There's no rules for this. There's no playbook for this. Nobody knows what we're doing. To quote Sue Elmore, you got to feel what you feel. Let your feels happen. And it's okay. So I hope our priorities change. I hope the shifting that we've experienced and know will continue to change. And I hope they're the right priorities. I hope we know what those right priorities are. I hope we continue to seek them and know them and find them. And that's what I hope doesn't change. I hope they remain the same. And so what are your priorities shifting to? What has kind of risen to the surface for you to know and experience as this is the most important? This is what's essential to my life and to the life of my family. What has that been for you? I hope it's Scripture. Because one of the things that I also have come to realize is that the discipleship that we have been creating needs to be able to help others do it on their own. Right? Because normally, Normally we would say, hey, if you're a disciple of Jesus, you need to go to church. You need to be a part of a small group. You need to be in a Sunday school class. You need to be studying with, you need to be doing all these things. And yeah. But it's also important that you don't go to a sermon. You don't go to a worship service. You don't go to a Sunday school class and think that other people are doing the work of spiritual education for you, but that you are investing in your own journey, because that's important too. And so what priorities are shifting within you? What things are coming up in your heart, in your head? What have you been marinating on? Because time has it's interesting time, because for so many of us, the idea of our watches were controlling what we were doing and when we were doing it. And in a sense, I'm there too. I'm still trying to create a routine for my kids, so it's like 6 o'clock dinner, bath by 6:45, in bed by 7:30. Like, we want these things, but I've noticed, at least in the morning, I was like, okay. I remember, in order to get my kids to preschool on time, I would have to leave my house by 7:45. If I didn't leave by 7:45, traffic would be horrible. But now that doesn't exist. Like, I just saw a report that because of all the lockdown, emissions are down by 8% worldwide. Like, that's incredible and that's awesome. But that means a whole lot less cars are on the road. And so I don't need to leave by 7:45. So I was getting them ready this morning and thinking, okay, I gotta go. Why? I don't gotta go. I got plenty of time. I don't need to be looking at my watch to see, oh, hey, I gotta go. I don't. That's been a shift in my priorities. That it's not about moving. It's not about going to the next thing. Even though there are plenty of next things. If you're feeling bored, talk to me. I got plenty of next things for you. I got plenty of stuff for you. I am not bored. I know this has been hard for extroverts. I'm an extrovert. It's been hard, but I'm okay. I'm okay. I really am. Everyone's kind of experienced these things differently. And I don't think any of them are, I think all of them are valid. I think all of them are okay. I think all of them have enabled us to figure stuff out in a new way. For some people, they're struggling a lot. And one of the questions that I have, that I also ask myself a lot, is how is it with your soul? It's this very Wesleyan question. It's John Wesley in his band meetings and his class meetings would ask this question: how is it with your soul? This was the main question that people would discuss. And when I think about that, how is it with my soul? Depends on the minute. Sometimes my soul is weary and tired and just, Other times I am flying high. When I am living into my calling of investing in students and talking with students and loving families and parents and kids, like, yes, I'm on fire. And there's other moments that I'm just like, oh, why? Sometimes it's hard to be motivated. All of them are valid. All of them are okay. Other times I'm just like, I'm good. And maybe you're feeling good right now. And that's awesome. Let's rejoice over that. Don't feel bad for that just because other people aren't. Feel great about that. And if you're not feeling good, okay. That's okay too. Let's take a breath. Let's figure this out. Let's do it together. So what are your priorities shifting to? How is it with your soul? Feel what you feel. Feel what you feel. And allow that to ruminate and marinate. because there's no watch right now. For some people, they saw the North Georgia Conference. The bishop came out and said, hey, we're not going to do anything until June 22nd. And for some people, it was like, oh, like it was defeating. For me, it was actually like, okay, we have a date now. Like, just give me a date. That's been the most frustrating part for me, is the unknown. Because if I know what I can look forward to, it's easier for me to deal with, even if it's a month, 2 months, however many months out there. If I know, like, okay, if we can just get there, we'll be okay. I can deal with that. And so I know those are a lot of random thoughts. One of my blog, when I did a blog, I haven't done it in years. It was called Random Thoughts from Jono's Brain. I know that felt like a lot of random thoughts from my brain. And maybe you're feeling scatterbrained right now. But we're here for you. We're praying for you. We love you. That's what it is. Feel what you feel. Allow your priorities to shift. Reconfigure, reimagine. Find what is essential to your life. And let's continue that. Let's continue that. Okay? If I can do anything for you, let me know. I love you. Praying for you. And may grace and peace be with you.